Melissa Gorga says nothing has changed with Teresa Giudice relationship amid RHONG shakeup. Melissa Gorga isn't here for making amends with Teresa Giudice, even though their future on The Real Housewives of New Jersey remains up in the air. The feud between Teresa and Melissa has been a staple on RHONG ever since the latter joined the show in Season 3. However, things reached a breaking point when Melissa and Joe Gorga skipped Teresa's wedding to Louis Ruelas in August 2022. Teresa and Melissa refused to film together for Season 14 unless it was in a group setting. Their demands, which Catania shaded them for, played a pivotal role in Andy Cohen confirming a revamp for Jersey is coming. Despite all signs pointing to either Teresa or Melissa staying on the show, the latter has no interest in a ceasefire with her sister-in-law. Melissa Gorga gives update on relationship with Teresa Giudice relationship amid RHONG shakeup. Honestly, no one should be surprised that Melissa is fine with not interacting with Teresa or her family. Melissa and Joe Gorga admitted on Season 13 of The Real Housewives of New Jersey that it was best for everyone. Speaking with People magazine at the premiere of Jersey Shore star Jenny J. Farley's horror film Devon, Melissa reiterated that sentiment. There's just no relationship, nothing has changed. It's pretty much right where it was and I just think that's how it's got to be for a while, she told the outlet. After the RHONG reboot was confirmed, the rumor mill was buzzing that Melissa and Trey would squash their beef, but that's not happening, not even for a spot on the Bravo show. Melissa Gorga and co-stars speculate about the future of The Real Housewives of New Jersey. The Envy by Melissa Gorga founder also revealed that she and some of her co-stars spend time wondering what the future of The Real Housewives of New Jersey holds. Sometimes when we're at dinner, we'll speculate and say, "What do you think? What do you think they're going to do?" she expressed. I mean, we'd be lying if we said we didn't, but at the end of the day we know all of us have zero control over it. Melissa has not heard a word about Season 15, so she's just taking a breath and enjoying focusing on her business as well as her family. Joe and Melissa are also testing other reality TV waters and they were spotted filming another series over the weekend. Be sure to keep checking back with Monsters and Critics for updates on RHONG Season 15. The air in New Jersey was heavy with rumors as Melissa Gorga arrived at a boutique opening in Montclair, wearing a sharp but easy smile, exuding her typical confident calm. Despite her polished look, there was an undeniable tension in the air. She knew all eyes were on her, not just for her style but for the story she held, one involving her sister-in-law, Teresa Giudice. As the cameras clicked and fans gathered, Melissa was asked a question that had been looming over her for months. "What's really going on with you and Teresa?" With a knowing glance, Melissa leaned in and said, "Honestly, nothing has changed." It was a phrase that seemed simple yet held decades of family dynamics, unresolved tension, and the lingering echoes of countless reunions, arguments, and fleeting truces. But as the crowd and media pressed her for more, Melissa gave a coy smile. "We've been through a lot, you know, the highs and lows, but we're still here, still family, for better or for worse." As Melissa's words spread, it seemed like the story had just begun. The Gorgas and the Giudices were in the middle of a major shakeup on The Real Housewives of New Jersey. Rumors swirled about the franchise's future and the cast members who'd be part of it. For Melissa, these shifts felt strangely familiar, yet this time there was a different edge to it. New alliances were forming, and the family's fractured relationships were now on the verge of becoming fully splintered. Back home, Melissa reflected on her words. She'd chosen them carefully, knowing Teresa was likely listening, somewhere out there, taking note of each syllable. "Nothing has changed" was more than just a catchphrase, it was a revelation of her reality. No matter the feuds, the accusations, or the moments of reconciliation, Melissa and Teresa's relationship had settled into a pattern that neither could quite break. They were family, but they were also rivals, each one fighting to carve out her own place in the family and the show. Later that night, Melissa joined her husband Joe Gorga at their kitchen table. "Did you see the blogs?" Joe asked, scrolling through his phone. "Everyone's talking about you saying nothing's changed. They think it's a dig at Teresa." Melissa sighed, knowing it was partially true. She wasn't here to take a jab at Teresa, but the tension was impossible to ignore. If only people knew how many times we tried to fix this, Joe, Melissa murmured, tracing her finger around her coffee cup. It's exhausting, but what am I supposed to say? That everything's rainbows and butterflies? Everyone knows that's not true. Joe, who had been silent, looked up at her with that familiar mix of loyalty and frustration. Maybe it's time you just focus on us, on the kids. Let her do her thing and we'll do ours. As the season continued, the cast shakeup became undeniable. New faces arrived with their own drama, adding to the tension that had already become a hallmark of the Jersey franchise. For Melissa, however, it felt like a new opportunity. The arrival of fresh cast members meant more storylines, a chance to redirect focus from the constant family battles to a narrative of her own. Still, the show's producers seemed intent on keeping her and Teresa in each other's orbits. The family feud was too rich, too real, and too long-standing to ignore. During a filming break, Melissa found herself in a quiet moment with one of the new cast members, who asked bluntly, "What's really going on with you and Teresa? Is it all for the cameras?" Melissa shook her head, offering a weary smile. "No, unfortunately, this is real. It's years of hurt, years of misunderstandings. I love her kids. I love my family, but sometimes it's just better to let things be, you know." The new cast member nodded, though Melissa could tell she didn't quite understand. How could she? For Melissa and Teresa, the layers ran deep. They'd gone from being family to being castmates, from being sisters-in-law to becoming two women trying to balance loyalty with personal boundaries. And as much as Melissa wanted peace, she'd learned the hard way that sometimes the past is simply too heavy to let go of. In the season finale, Melissa and Teresa faced each other once more. It wasn't their typical reunion spat or even a blazing argument, just a quiet, tense conversation. "I hear you've been saying nothing's changed," Teresa said, crossing her arms with that familiar, guarded look in her eyes. Melissa met her gaze, unwavering. "That's because it hasn't, Teresa. We keep doing this. We keep hurting each other, but we never actually move forward." For a moment, Teresa's expression softened, and she seemed on the verge of saying something. An apology, maybe, or even a simple acknowledgement of the years they'd shared. But she stayed silent, the moment passing before it fully formed. Back at home after filming wrapped, Melissa sat on her back porch, sipping her drink as she thought about that final exchange. It had been their story all along, two women bound by family, each one waiting for the other to make the first move, the first real gesture of reconciliation. And yet, year after year, neither had been able to take that step. "Maybe nothing's changed," Melissa whispered to herself, the words settling into the chilly evening air like a truth she'd finally accepted. But deep down, Melissa knew that something was shifting, even if she couldn't see it yet. The show would go on, the cameras would continue to capture every argument and tearful confession. She and Teresa would always be family, even if they never managed to find peace. And as long as they were in each other's lives, on the show or off, they'd keep replaying the same cycles of hurt and healing, rivalry and reconciliation. For now, however, Melissa was ready to embrace the future, one where she could be herself, a mother, a wife, and a businesswoman, no longer waiting for the past to mend itself. And as she sat there, watching the night deepen around her, Melissa Gorga felt, perhaps for the first time, that nothing has changed could also mean she finally had permission to let go.